Are you a handyman or someone doing odd jobs around town for money? Then you want to stick around because I have the best tax deductions for you. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Suited Keyword Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you are to ask me. And if you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to talk to you about the top 10 tax deductions for handymen and those doing odd jobs. If you work as a handyman, you are operating essentially a business in the eyes of the IRS. So since you own a business, you're likely a self-employed sole proprietor. This means what? It means that you have a lot of potential tax deductions to investigate. So if you run your own handyman business, here are some expenses that you should keep your receipts for, and I will go through them very quickly with you. And you can use those receipts to offset your total taxable income. There is something very important when it comes to handyman business. There are a lot of myths around the tax deductions for handyman business. For example, many believe that meals can be fully deducted when a handyman or someone doing odd jobs does his tax returns, when in truth, he cannot. All right? He cannot. Only 50% of a qualifying meal can be treated as a tax deduction. This means a handyman who goes out and buys his lunch every day cannot take the receipts and use them for tax deduction purposes. So a daily lunch doesn't qualify as a meal expense. Keep in mind that the deductions shown in this video are not tax credits, they are tax deductions, which means what? That the qualifying amount from each expense is totaled up to reduce a handyman's total taxable income. Very important. So let's give it an overview of taxes for a handyman and those doing odd jobs. So you have reporting business income. So when you work for yourself, you file the regular Form 1040 as a self-employed person, right? However, instead of having your income reported on a Form W-2 as wages, salary, or tips, you report it as business income using Schedule C. But you don't report the total sum of all income you receive from your handyman business. First, you want to use a Schedule C to calculate your net income after taking all appropriate business deductions that I will be talking to you now about. Now, handyman business deductions on Schedule C or CEZ. If you pay for something that helps you earn income from your handyman business or odd job work, you may be able to deduct it as a business expense. And examples of allowable business deductions include business use of your car, equipment, furniture, advertising expenses. I'll say more later in the show. One thing that's very important when it comes to tax deductions for handymen and those doing odd jobs is that careful record keeping is very important. Please do yourself a favor right now and keep careful records of handyman income and expenses from the beginning. This makes preparing your tax return easier and smoother, believe me. So even if you don't work full-time at odd jobs, you can make record keeping very easy by doing a couple of things. You can maintain separate bank accounts from your handyman business. You can apply for credit card used only for the business. You can store all receipts and invoices in organized files on your computer. You can actually create separate folders, and you can keep precise mileage logs reflecting odometer readings by job name. Very important. And you also have to keep be careful about self-employment taxes and estimated payments for handyman and odd job income, because the IRS is very stringent about that. They're very strict about that. As a self-employed handyman, you must pay self-employment tax on your net profit. And the self-employment tax, currently set at 15.3%, includes amounts to fund Social Security and Medicare. All right, so we actually have covered the topic of Schedule SC on another show, so you might want to double check that show. But basically what you do is you have to complete and attach Schedule SC, self-employment tax, to your Form 1040 to calculate the amount of self-employment tax you owe. You also might need to file quarterly estimated tax payments during the year, and you have to pay this based on the schedule set by the IRS. And one thing I want to say here is that I'm explaining to you the theoretical part of things, but if you're using online software, if you're using a tax software to do your taxes, all the calculation happen in the background, right? But it's still good for you to know about them. Very important. So now let's talk about the top 10 tax deductions for handyman business. Number 1, handyman licensing fee. Now, licensing requirements for a handyman differ from state to state, and what a handyman is legally allowed to do also depends on where he lives. So we know the laws varies from even within a state, you have different laws from one county to another. And one thing that I want to say also is that the licenses may go by names other than handyman, right? So you need to check. You need to really check your state contractor laws. They usually detail the work that a handyman can and cannot do. Some states limit the size, dollar value of a project you can take on, while others don't. There may be local regulations as well, so you basically want to do your research. And licenses on average typically cost no more than $400, and according to the IRS, you can deduct the amount you pay each year to state or local government for licenses and regulatory fees for your trade, business, or profession. So if you get a license, keep the receipt so that you can use it when doing your taxes, your income taxes. Number 2, you have handyman tools. You can basically deduct those too. So you may be required to do a lot of different things as a handyman. You may need to paint a room, repair a roof, lay down carpet, etc. Consequently, the right tools are they are necessary to have on hand, because not having them can affect your unemployment. Your employment rather can actually send you into unemployment. For example, measuring tape, a saw, caulking guns are all tools of the trade, and you should keep your receipts when purchasing these items because they are tax deductible business expenses and they are fully deductible. So when it comes to financial considerations, one thing you have to be very careful about is that if you purchase a very expensive, you have to be mindful rather, if you purchase a very expensive tool or a piece of equipment, it may need to be capitalized, not expensed. So capital costs refer to larger expenses that need to be depreciated over a number of years. For example, let's say you buy a 1,000 case to house all your tools for your handyman business. If you deducted that amount fully in the year you purchased the case, it could greatly affect your profits for that year. So capital costs are spread out over a number of years. I'll be right back, but after this, don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation today about the top 10 tax deductions for handymen and those doing odd jobs. Number 3, we have general liability insurance. So we know it's important to have malpractice insurance and general liability insurance. So working in other people's homes is going to require some general liability insurance. You never know, things happen, stuff happens, and premiums will depend on a number of factors, including where you live and the deductible you're comfortable with, but the insurance will typically cover you for things like damages to clients' homes or items in those homes, lawsuits and settlements. For instance, a client claiming work was not done or not done properly. This kind of stuff happens, all right? Medical expenses for non-employees, you can deduct those also. Libel, slander, or copyright, you can claim this insurance cost for a tax deduction. Number 4, handyman's vehicle. So chances are, as a handyman, you use your vehicle to not only get you to your jobs, but to transport all your tools as well, right? So perhaps you often need to go from one client's home to a store to get supplies. So that kind of travel can add up, and you need to keep track of your mileage, as use of your vehicle is tax deductible. So when it comes to travel expense, tracking is critically important if you use the car for both business and pleasure, as you can only deduct the business use. Okay, let me give you a very simple example to sort of elucidate that. let's say your vehicle traveled 10,000 miles in the last year, and only 300 of those miles were for business. That means only 300 miles can be used for the tax deduction. So the IRS determines the current standard mileage rate. So you can actually use the option of a standard mileage, which is right now 57.5 cents per mile, and next year 2021 it will be 56 cents per mile. Or you can just basically track your own expenses. So a vehicle's use for tax breaks can also be calculated differently. And this is what I'm talking about, using something called the actual expense method. You can track your own expenses. It's a lot more complicated than tracking mileage. It means keeping track of a vehicle's lease payments, gasoline purchases, insurance costs, maintenance charges, and depreciation. Deduction number five, bank fees. So as a handyman, the chances are you have a small business bank account to deposit payments from clients and to pay off your expenses. And so the monthly bank fees associated with this type of account can be included in your tax deductions. And did you take a loan for some special tools? Then the interest on those loans are also tax deductibles. All right. And a similar cost is the cost if you accept payments through credit cards and you have some credit card transaction, some credit card payments processing fees. Those fees are also fully deductible. Number 6, home office. If you run your handyman business out of home, which many handymen do anyway these days, especially we are in a COVID-19 situation where everybody's just working from home, nearly everybody. Then if you do that, if you run your business out of your home, you can take a deduction for a home office. So when you have a home office, it allows you to deduct a portion of all the expenses that you have for your home. And again, the IRS is very strict when it comes to rules over there. The expenses you must use your home in a necessary and ordinary manner. In other words, if you have a room for business, everything around that room must reflect business. You can't have things hanging around, dirty clothes hanging on the floor, or something that does not present a professional image. You want to show that this is basically the office, and the other part of the house is it's for family. It's just for relaxing. It's for private use. Okay, so if you do things correctly, you can, for example, deduct a portion of your mortgage payments, your utility payments, and your homeowner's insurance payments. So the size of the deduction depends on how big your home office is in relation to the rest of your house. Is it 30%? Is it 10%? Is it 20%? Is it 5%? It really depends. So but whatever determination you have, the IRS loves a very easy way to determine that. You can actually go by the square footage formula. So you take the square footage occupied by the office, by the room where the office is, and you divide that by the total square footage of the property. Deduction number 7, we have marketing and promotion. So how do you actually get your customers for your handyman business? You are going to do a lot of stuff, right? You do a lot of things. You basically, often a handyman works in the area he lives. So marketing your handyman business can be as easy as going door to door and talking to people, or putting flyers in mailboxes. On those flyers, you want to list the type of service you're offering. Now, those flyers are not free, right? You have to print them. You have to maybe order them through a printing agency. You have to have someone design the flyer. You have to have somebody review it. All this kind of stuff that goes into marketing and promotion are fully deductible. And the thing here is that you can, if you have advertising, let's say you advertise your business on social media, or you hire someone to advertise your business for you, someone to handle your social media marketing for you, all those costs are fully deductible. Or maybe you just do things in the neighborhood where you just go and talk to people. You basically, you sell your service live, your kind of service you have. You basically, you check in with your regular customers semi-regularly, and you want to ask if they know other people who may need work done. This is how you can build a client base, and building a client base takes time and costs money. But any cash that you spend on that job, on that activity, is fully deductible. Number 8, we have medical costs. So working as a self-employed individual can also provide you with the opportunity to deduct certain medical costs. So if you pay, for instance, let's say you pay for health insurance out of your own pocket, you can deduct the entire amount of the premiums from your taxable income. To get this deduction, though, you have to make a profit for the year with your business. So if your health insurance is a high deductible plan, you can also use a health savings account and then deduct any expenses paid with this account. So the bottom line here is what? When you pay for your health insurance out of your own pocket, you can deduct a tax deduction for this as well. As long as you are not eligible for health insurance on a pre-planned from your spouse's job, right? If you're not eligible for that, then you can deduct the entire amount of premiums that you pay for your own insurance, and you can deduct for both you and your family's insurance premiums. Number 9, we have a training and professional networking. So training cost in your handyman, if you're a handyman or someone doing odd jobs around town for money, you can basically deduct training cost. Let's say you had to attend training or learning courses throughout the year, throughout last year, you can deduct this cost. It's important to check with your trusted accountant, your EA, your enrolled agent, your CPA, your certified public accountant, if you're not sure of any of the deductions you can claim. So painting, so there are a lot of courses that we have seen in our research, either live or on the internet. When it comes to handyman training, you have things like painting, drywall repair and installation, flooring, basic plumbing, basic electrical and carpentry. And again, in the last 6 months, we've seen a constellation of courses emerging on the internet. And you also can deduct any handyman, any cost that you incur in relation to a handyman certification. So things like study materials, exam fees, and other annual fees are also deductible. And dues paid to professional organizations as well as fees paid to attend industry events are also deductible. Number 10, last but not the least, phone and phone bills. So cell phones have become just as vital to business as a landline, which makes cell phone use a legitimate, deductible business expense for handymen. But for most of us, cell phones are also inextricably linked to our personal lives, right? So basically, if you think about it, it is a deduction that the IRS scrutinizes very carefully to make sure personal electronics use is not being claimed as a business expense. So you can claim your cell phone as a small business deduction for your handyman operation. So if you are self-employed and you use your cell phone for handyman business, you can claim the business use of your phone as a tax deduction. Let's say if 30% of your time on the phone is spent on business, on handyman business, you could legitimately deduct, guess what, 30% of your phone bill. So we actually recommend getting an itemized phone bill so you can ensure your business and personal use, and you can actually also you can measure that those two are separate, and you can prove your deduction to the IRS. Alternatively, you could also get a second phone number, right? A lot of handymen do that. You get a second phone number and use it exclusively for a business. All right, folks, this is it for today's conversation. I really want to thank you for your attention. So I was talking to you about the top 10 tax deductions for handymen and those doing odd jobs. Number 1, we have handyman licensing fee. Number 2, handyman's tools. Number 3, general liability insurance. Number 4, handyman's vehicle. Number 5, bank fees. Number 6, home office. Number 7, marketing and promotion. Number 8, medical costs. Number 9, training and professional networking. And number 10, phone and phone bills. Good luck, happy filing, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for your attention. And until next, remember, stay marvelous.